So most of you guys probably are wondering who I am and why do I have the microphone. It's not because I dress nice or I'm handsome, as my wife likes to call me. It's because of my very, very humble appreciation for who Mr. Larry Gossett was and is to me. Throughout the night, as we hear speakers talk, you'll hear a little bit more in depth about my relationship with Mr. Gossett. But first and foremost, I served as an intern in Councilmember Gossett's office in 2007 and 2008 when I was an undergrad at Seattle University studying criminal justice. And he saw a young kid coming up from the South, and like he do everyone else, he gives everyone an opportunity, and I did not want to prove him wrong. I wanted to make sure that all the knowledge and wisdom that he was pouring into me, that I returned it into someone else, which is why now I run I'm the founder and executive director of Glover Empower Mentoring, which is headquartered in Kent, Washington. We work with youth and young adults up to the age of 24, and it was all because of the vision and the wisdom that this young man has given me over the years.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You ready to move and dance a little bit? We need some motion in here. It's a lot of motion, but we got motion in here. I will be super out of line, and it's uncompelling my spirit just to acknowledge Larry. Mr. Gossett, thank you. Whether it was a graduation, regardless if it was a smaller graduation or a larger one, you was there for me. And you've been there for thousands of people in this community. I'm blown away by the energy that you always have. Somebody that's ready to stand tall and be proud. And also, we have 3 minutes. I'm a man of many words, believe it or not. And I don't want to take too much space, but I would be also 10 times out of line if I did not acknowledge Mrs. Gossett also. Absolutely. Whether it was good meals, good times, if I need to stop by and have a workout, with Malcolm or get some music with Langston, or it's just artists. It was a good feel. So thank you. This actually is a tribute to love, and just the love that I see and hear and that people share. So yeah, this is called, it's just a tribute. I don't think that you understand what you have. She's so good. I don't think that you understand what you have. She's so good. What's up, partner? I got something to tell you. Something you should know. Something I need to tell you. When you got a girl, keep it true. You in the world and represent, I thought you knew. What's up, partner? I got something to tell you. Something you should know. Something I need to tell you. When you got a girl, keep it true. Next to a diamond to represent, I thought you knew. You got some good girl. Listen, homie, I'ma keep it 100. Never my lifetime, once that I'm running. Seems like it, girl, you should treat her right. Cause I ain't trying to keep on with your day tonight. She's a winner, I'ma keep it official. I'ma bring you along and I'ma blow the whistle. I ain't trying to tell you I did it in life. I'm just trying to tell you treat her right. Oh, that's a good girl. You should take it to the nail shop. Introduce her to your homeboys. Take it to your family. Sprinkle your diamonds. Lace it with the fine things. I'm messing with the game. I'm trying to explain. All you gotta do is treat it right. Cause homie, that's a good girl. Now I would like to challenge everybody else to get up and sing. So let's do this. I'm being for real, as serious as we can. How many people in here know the national anthem?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Can we get it? Three? I know I'm out of time too. Can we get it? If you know it, let's get it. 1, 2, 3. Lift every voice and sing to earth and heaven rings with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the roaring sea. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Doesn't this feel like a homecoming? There's some people that we haven't seen in ages. Yes. So welcome to the Centilla Cultural Center. It is a Nahuatl word that means to join together to become one. And that's what this coalition has been doing over the last 50 years, joining together to become one, to strengthen our communities. And I just see that my grandchildren just arrived, and so I'm so happy that they're here. Yes. So it is wonderful to see people of all races, people of all ages, to come and show your support, your love, your friendship, and to celebrate Larry's lifetime of being a servant for the people, and I would say a revolutionary for the people. My time, Roberto's time, goes back almost 48 years. When I came to visit Roberto Maestas when I was living in Houston, and heard about the occupation of El Centro, because I had met Roberto earlier that year and we kept in touch. I wonder why that was. And of course, that is a story for another time. So in our culture, when you evoke the name of someone who is no longer with us in this world, you say presente, which means that they are with us. And so I'm going to say Roberto's name, and then you say presente. Roberto Maestas. Presente. Bob Santos. Presente. Bernie White Bear. Presente. Thank you so much. So Roberto's relationship with Larry goes back to 1968, when they met at Franklin High School, when the students staged a sit-in because the principal had sent home 2 African-American girls because they were wearing their hair in a fro, and the principal didn't think that they looked ladylike. And so Roberto was the only teacher that stayed at Franklin High School with the students, and that's where they met. So from that time on, the Gossett family has been a part of the Maestas Ortega family. Roberto was, some of you may not know, Roberto was Larry's best man at his wedding. He and Rhonda are the godparents to my oldest daughter, Amalia, who I think is here, who's with us here along with my grandchildren, and John Daniels of the Muckleshoot tribe. So for the Latino community, Larry Gossett has always been with us. He helped recruit Chicanos from the Yakima Village to go to college at the University of Washington, and he also was a part of planning and strategizing and supporting the occupation of El Centro de la Raza. So we always remember Larry for that. He also was one of the first persons of color to serve on El Centro de la Raza's board of directors. So Larry Larry's commitment to justice, his commitment to multiracial unity, his commitment to ending poverty, and working for economic justice for our communities are the reasons that we love and respect Larry Gossett. So we say gracias to you again, Larry, for caring about all of our communities. Larry has used these words to describe Roberto, that he was a man of the people, for the people. These words are fitting for Larry Gossett, a man of the people, for the people. So I will end my comments with Roberto Maestas' favorite vivas, and the vivas tonight are for Larry Gossett. And so again, and viva means long life. I'm finishing up. That means a long life. And so when I say Larry's name, you say viva as loud as you can. Viva Larry Gossett! Viva! Viva Larry Gossett! Viva! Thank you very much.
So coming to the stage is a brother named Stephen Dozier. He's a community member, and he's an important community member, one that Larry once asked, would you put your political future on the line for this man? And the answer to that question, I'll let you give the words directly.
It's an honor today to be standing here in front of a room with a group of people that really love and respect Larry Gossett. Larry, you always hold a special place in my heart. You know, I want to start first by quoting Dr. Martin Luther King. He's one of my favorites. I read about him all the time. Our lives begin and end the day we remain silent about things that matter. We recognize Larry Gossett as an advocate and a leader in our community and beyond. Larry has stood tall and spoke truth to power, regardless of how popular it is or unpopular. Each of us in this room are here because Larry has touched our lives in some capacity. You know, at one point in time, in 1994, I reached out to every person who I viewed as a community leader in the African American community. Larry was newly elected that year. Out of everybody I reached out to, Larry was the only one that responded. My back was against the wall. I was sitting in a prison cell with a life without parole sentence. Larry responded. He's never looked at people as being less than. I've seen Larry venture across the street in the county jail for numerous families. In 1994, as Kendrick stated, not 1994, but in 2008, my case was looked at again before the Washington State Clemency and Pardons Board. My case was re-examined, and Dan Satterberg, Larry, and the judge that sentenced me came before. They came in, first Dan Satterberg came into the institution and met with me personally. He brought with him a guy who I don't really agree with on his political beliefs, John Carlson. But after meeting with me, both those men, along with Larry, stood before the Clemency Board and advocated for my freedom. I was the first person in the nation ever given clemency under the 3 strikes law. Sitting at the table, Larry was asked, would you put your political career on the line for this man? And Larry didn't hesitate, he said yes. He invested in me. You know, Larry had came in numerous times to the Black Prisoners Caucus within the walls of Monroe Correctional Facility and met with us. He didn't come in and preach to us. He just came in and brought a breath of positive, fresh air from the African American community, from Seattle, from the hood. And many of us received that. You know, and I used to look at Larry when Larry would leave, and I always used to say, if I'm ever given another chance, I'm going to come back to the community and invest in my community. I'm going to invest in my community, in the youth of my community, and let Larry know that the investment he made in me was a good investment. I've been out over 12 years now, close to 12 years. Okay. You know, for the first few years I worked with youth. I'll be brief. For the first few years I worked with youth. Troubled youth going in and out of the juvenile system. I see people who are continuing to work with youth, and to you brothers I salute, and sisters I salute, because our youth need us. You know, but after a while, I decided, hey, I gotta make a little bit more money, I need a little bit more security, and, you know, by the grace of God, you know, he blesses us when we're ready. And he blessed me with the opportunity to go to work within buildings that I used to walk by when I was doing wrong and say, maybe one day I'll get a job in there. I work for King County. I work for King County, and I'm a proud King County employee. Along with representing, you know, my family, Larry's investment, you know, I value that. I value the opportunity, you know, and life's been good. You know, I tell people all the time, I still mentor people, young people in the community. I talk to brothers coming out of the institution. Hey, minimum wage look good in Washington. You're making 42 cents an hour. Where you at? You know, so we're working at it. It's a work in progress. But Larry, I love you. You know, I love you. I do, with the bottom of my heart. You know, I remember when they were fighting about the no new youth jail, and you called me, hey brother, will you ride with me? You know I'll ride with you, Larry. You know it. But I love you, and I love all my community, and thank you guys. And you guys are here saluting a great man, you know it. And I love you, Larry.
I'm pretty sure there is hundreds of thousands of stories that would like to just echo the words and say thank you. And thank you does not do it justice, because you really are a man for the people. You're a servant leader hero in my eyes, and I salute you, sir. Thank you. With that, we're going to go directly into a video tribute.
The year 1968.
I have a dream today.
The nation was reeling after the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I think that what we're doing at the present time in Vietnam is a mistake.
And Robert Kennedy. Thousands demonstrated against the Vietnam War, and the Beatles released the White Album. In Seattle, political activist Larry Gossett was protesting the treatment of black students at his alma mater, Franklin High School. He was arrested. His jail cell was on the 12th floor of the King County Courthouse. Ironically, the same floor where his county council office would be decades later. Larry Gossett grew up in the Central area. He graduated from the University of Washington in 1970, receiving the UW's first ever degree in African American Studies. He was a founder of the Black Student Union. He continued his activism and became part of a celebrated revolutionary political alliance known as the Gang of Four. The founder of El Centro de la Raza, Roberto Maestas, Bernie Whitebear of the Seattle Indian Health Board, Bob Santos, a leader in the Asian community, and Larry, the executive director of the Central Area Motivation Program. In other cities, those populations tended to be segregated, but because of their unity and their friendship, it immediately sent a message to, especially the people of color in the Seattle and King County region, that the struggles of one are the struggles of us all.
They figured out early and led Seattle in civil rights and racial equality, coming together to work together on common causes and individual causes that needed mutual support. And that's the kind of organizing that's successful.
In 1993, Gossett got involved in electoral politics. He won a seat on the Metropolitan King County Council, representing an area stretching from the Montlake Cut to Beacon Hill.
I call Larry the conscience of the council, the bending of the arc of justice, the arc of history toward a more just society. That is the touchstone, the guiding light that I think motivates Larry Gossett in all of his work and everything he's done.
Larry's the guy who has, by his example, by his experience, by his leadership, has reminded us that we need to care about racial equity in this community, that people are being left behind every single day, and we can do a better job and must do a better job for those folks, and he's the guy who always reminds us of that.
In 1996, building on the initial idea of former King County Council members Bruce Lang and Ron Sims, Gossett was a prime mover in changing the county logo, from that of a 19th century slaveholder to that of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I was really proud of that, and those were all Larry Gossett's pushes. You know, he and Ron Sims, former executive, went back to D.C. and met with representatives of the family of Dr. King. It is rare when you literally get to work next to somebody who is a civil rights legend. I mean, literally every day.
I think Larry's going to have a long-term legacy as the heart of the King County Council. He makes decisions based on what he knows in his heart is the right thing for the people he represents. Being that heart and that voice for people who most need it is going to be Larry's legacy.
Larry's a really good listener. He will listen to your ideas, but he's inquisitive, and so he's willing to listen and to see what's different. He's done a lot of work on making sure that people that were underserved are thoroughly thought about. His legacy will be that nobody will ever be forgotten again.
We were sworn in at the same time, but he had the advantage of Rhonda. See, he has a partner in Rhonda that is just not just his wife, but she was his partner in the community. We got two for a price of one, because Larry and Rhonda worked together as a team to help us all be better on the issues that were before us.
He would see people who were off the streets, I mean, literally. And if he was available, he would visit with them. I arranged probably a couple of times per month for him to go over to the King County Jail and visit with someone at the behest of their family member. I don't know of another elected official nationwide that would do that.
He's the people's person. He's given a lot of access and allowed people to see how it works by coming to his office, by going to them in the community, and by hosting town hall meetings and other things that are really important to a large spectrum of the community, not just one particular portion.
Every day, every hour, he's on the phone with people in the community. I think that Councilmember Gossett's legacy is still an open book. I expect he's going to achieve a lot more, even in retirement.
Congratulations, Larry. We really appreciate your 25 years of hard work and service to the people of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King County. Thank you so much for your excellent work and service.
Congratulations, Dad, for 25 years of service to the people.
All right, next up we have some remarks from a wonderful, wonderful gentleman in the community. I would first like to be a little biased and say Bill, Brothers United in Leadership Development. It's an organization that myself, Mr. Jimerson, and Mr. Franklin, along with Mr. Anderson, a couple more gentlemen in the community serve on. So Mr. Jimerson is a community member. He's the Director of Education and Youth Development at the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. He's a community member that has known Larry for many, many years, and he has some remarks. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Will Jimerson.
Thank you guys. How you guys doing this evening? 3 minutes. I got 3 minutes. I'm just sliding in. I want to say a warmful thank you to Larry Gossett. We call him LG from the CD. He's an OG. You know, he said many, many years. I ain't that old. Don't be just putting many on my years now. I got many years. But no, I've been knowing LG since I can remember just living life. Growing up around me. I grew up around the corner from him and grew up with Malcolm and Langston and his daughter. Went to Lakeshire Elementary School. And I can say that, and also been in his home plenty of times. And, you know, sitting there at the dinner table. And I can say when things had got rocky for me on a personal level, being one of the youngest in the state of Washington, right here in Seattle out of the Central District, at the age of 13, being tried as an adult,
sentence of 23 years. He served 20.5 years of that sentence. Larry was on the front, he was on cutting edge saying this should not be happening. You know, before the scientific evidence based science came through, Larry was one of the first ones to put, once again, his career and his life and his integrity on the line, and he was singing at that time was solo. He didn't have a choir, you know, like now we got more support. So I want to say thank you to you, Larry, for always being a warrior, being responsive. When I did that 20.5 years, there was times that I went through administrative struggles. I would call you up, I would ask you to write letters, you know, and you did that. You also would come up and support many of the activities that we did with the Black Prisoners Caucus. And I remember one of the things that Larry laid down on us. He said when he was young, he went to jail, but he went to jail for a cause. And he said, now you young people are just going to jail because. So he made me have to really evaluate some things about myself and realize, like, I gotta stop getting upset because somebody else X, Y, and Z, right? So you made me love myself and be a little more introspective, but you also made me realize that I was claiming the wrong hood, right? And when I was claiming the wrong hood, you showed up as a man and showed me that you was claiming the right hood. And you know the right hood you was claiming? Brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? Neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Love. Those things like that. So I appreciate you. Man, my heart goes to you in every regard. You know, this time we ride around the CD and we just reminisce, man. And I'm glad that I got that. I have you in a relevant way where I can just tap into you, talk to you, man. And much love to the Gossett family and everybody here. Thank you.
You just got me back on track. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, what else can we say? Next up, we have two remarkable young men that are going to come and share some words and hopefully some stories from your days in the trenches of doing the work in King County. First up, we have Councilmember Rob Dembowski.
Thank you, Kendrick. Good evening. How are you? Hello, Councilmember Gossett. Round of applause for King County Councilmember Larry Gossett. The video ended with my colleague, Councilmember Cole Wells. It's a privilege to serve on the King County Council, saying that the final legacy of Larry Gossett has not yet been written. And I believe that's true. As a young person getting active in politics in the community as a teenager, I was blessed to get to know 3 of the 4 amigos. Roberto Maestas, Bernie White Bear, Bob Santos. But I never got to meet Larry Gossett. Together, as you know, the 4 of them formed the 4 pillars of the foundation for the civil rights movement of King County for the last 50 years. They built it out in partnership with many of the people in this room, and they built a strong and durable and lasting foundation that will give dividends and advance the arc of justice, right? The arc of history toward justice for the next 50 years. And so when I was privileged 7 years ago to be first appointed and then later elected to the county council, I got to meet Larry Gossett for the first time. And he has brought me along. He has brought me along and educated me about civil rights and moving toward justice. And we have partnered together. I got to work with him on ending the school-to-prison pipeline for young people. When he started on the council, yes, you can applaud that. When Larry Gossett came to the county council, we had over 200 young people a night in jail. Now we're in the 40s per night, and there's still work to do on that. We worked to reform our ICE detainer system to respect the immigrant communities in this county. He brought a living wage ordinance forward in partnership with me. The Immigrant and Immigrant and Refugee Commission. Larry Gossett did that. Larry Gossett built upon the naming of King County in honor of Martin Luther King by making sure we could never forget it, by leading the effort to put his image on the flag and on the pin and on the letterhead and on the buses. And that was not an easy fight. People said it would be too expensive. People would say it would cause too much confusion, right? People would say it'd be hard to do. But this is a very, very powerful symbol that reminds us every single day to live up to and strive for the ideals of our namesake in Martin Luther King County, right? Larry Gossett, the four amigos, you brought together communities that maybe didn't always get along, but together, working together. The Native American community, the Latinx community, the Asian American community, the African American community, you brought them together because you taught us that there is strength and more power in working together. And you honored Dr. King's quote, that we should live together as brothers or die as fools, right? That's Larry Gossett. I'm so proud to have been able to serve with him for 7 years. I'm so proud and so grateful for all that he's done to help me become a better person. I love you, Larry. Thank you very much. Now, we got a fighter for justice in the house. Would you please make welcome my friend and predecessor, the Attorney General for the state of Washington, Mr. Bob Ferguson.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Rob. Good evening, everybody. You know, I had the honor of serving with Larry for 9 years at King County Council, and for one of those years, I'm joined by other colleagues who, in addition to Jeannie, who's been introduced, Larry Phillips, Dwight Pell, I think Brian Brodowski's in the house. Big round of applause to all those folks as well. So for one of those years, I had the honor of being the chair of the King County Council, and often at events that are public in nature with the full council, the chair introduces all the council members. That's part of the job. And I remember at one time I settled on how I would introduce Larry. I would often say to the public, I would say, I have 8 colleagues on the King County Council, but just one hero. Who was that hero? Larry Gossett. And he was that person for me and is for all of us here tonight. Now, I was reading an article about Larry in the Seattle Times not too long ago. And at the end of the article, Larry talks about he's working on a memoir, and it was on page 107. And the reporter asked Larry, well, kind of what it's about, or what's the book going to be about? And the last quote of the article is Larry talking about the memoir he's writing. And here's what the article concludes. This is Larry speaking. The life of Larry Gossett, he mused, people are going to say, oh, that brother was crazy. Now, Rod, the word crazy has multiple definitions, some more flattering than others. I looked them up, Larry, and one definition is just 2 words, extremely enthusiastic. Was Larry Gossett crazy about civil rights? Was Larry Gossett crazy about lifting up all of our voices? Was Larry Gossett crazy about speaking on behalf of the marginalized and the dispossessed in our community? Was Larry Gossett willing to set aside what might have been a comfortable life for speaking out on our behalf over and over and over again? Was he crazy in that way as well? Larry Gossett, I hope you feel the love of everybody here. Are you all crazy about Larry Gossett? The last thing I want to say is I have twins. Larry's met them many times, Jack and Katie. They're now 11, almost 12. And when they were just knee-high, and we were on the council together, there was some kind of a rally or a march going on downtown. And they were very young, old enough to march, but not old enough to understand what they were marching about. And I remember they said, Daddy, why are we going to this march downtown? And I said, kids, because I want you, when you're an adult, to be able to say, I marched with Larry Gossett. I marched with Larry Gossett. Larry Gossett, we love you. I love you. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brodowski and State Attorney Mr. Ferguson. We appreciate your remarkable words. Let me just ask you a question. I'm going to do a temperature check in the room. If Mr. Gossett has ever done anything for you personally or professionally, raise your hand. Mr. Gossett, take a look around. Look at all these people. Look at all these people who you have influenced, sir. And I can raise both of my hands. Yes. So with that, there was a gift that was going to be presented to you over the Christmas break. but unfortunately it didn't arrive in time. Blame it on
Blame it on UPS.
Yeah, somebody take
Blame it on the
blame.
boogie.
So, what are we giving him?
Not only is he my cousin, but right now I'm representing the 37 legislative Democrats. And I'm representing them because he taught me how to work for my community. And he's been the most amazing person that I've known all my life. And he's such a great mentor. So not only from me, but from the members of the 37th Legislative District, we love you, we appreciate you, we honor you, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So, if you haven't been emotionally tied up as of yet, oh boy, hold on to your seats. Because now, these are some of the most special people in this young man's life. And this is his immediate family. So we have an opportunity to hear from the young lady who allowed us to have him for such a very long time, Mrs. Gossett.
Helper for Larry, and try to be the backbone. I believe that women in this, in this marriage, we're the backbone, Larry. And so I want to stand at the table here, the family table here, and have the family say some words. We appreciate you, Larry. We love you. And all the family stand up. Daughter, Malcolm Gossett in Atlanta, Georgia. Langston Gossett is working downtown now, but his family is here as well. And Samantha, Lexi, and Luciano, Lyron, and Lachelle in Canada. This is Glenn Gossett. Love you.
I want to say one thing. Our father passed away when I was 17. Larry was 24. Ever since then, he's been like a father, brother. All right?
Hi, I just want to say congratulations, Larry, on your retirement. And Larry is certainly my hero.
On the tables, I gave Larry a gift. It's his calling cards. On there we have LG from the CD. So Larry's going to be looking for consultant work. And everyone here help Larry serve the people more and more and more. And here's Nicole.
Congratulations, Dad. I'm so proud of you. I'm about to cry. I'm not good with this speaking, but I really appreciate you helping the community, and please keep on, because we still need you.
I'm Larry's first cousin. My name is LaBarbara, and I originated from Texas. And Larry's proud of Texas. He asked a million questions about the little town that our family came up in. But Larry is a lovable person. He's a family person. He's a community person. He's just a good person all around, and he loves people, and I appreciate him so much. God bless him to him and his family.
Hi, Uncle Larry. I love you so much. When we was growing up, me and my brother, he didn't take us to movies. He took us to plays. All right. Earned their way. And I love him for that. Thank you, Larry. God bless you.
Hi, y'all. I am Patricia Knight. I am Larry's first cousin. And let me tell you, I'm not going to talk long, but I got to say this. When we were little, we would do something wrong, and Larry would walk up to us and get that look on his face. Y'all know, anyone who's been close to him knows that look, and he would say, "Why did you do that?" He showed integrity from an early age. When we got a little bit older and did not have all of the advantages that other people may have had, and because of the work he did at the University of Washington, I went to college, graduated with honors. I am one of many people that only went to college because of Larry's influence, because of his encouragement, because of his motivation that we learned and hopefully exemplified with the things we did. So Larry, congratulations. You have served the community, you have served your family, and we love you. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Nia Gossett. I'm Larry Gossett's granddaughter. And I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do for me, my friends, the family, everybody in the community. He has never said no to anybody. Like, he is not the type of person to say no. He'll always try to find a way to help you in whatever way he can. And I just admire him so much, and I wish I could be like him when I'm older. Love you.
We love you, and Patricia's right. 54,000 students, people of color, poor white people, got to go to the University of Washington because you and the Black Student Union, progressive people, took over. Woohoo! And Larry wants to continue for people to learn, and everyone can serve and be of serving other people. And please continue to do good work, Larry. Thank you. Thank you.
Still working. Still telling me what to do. I ain't gonna say it. He loves to just, like, the way you do it. You don't, and this is one of my main reasons why I respect Mr. Gossett, is because when he told me something, he gave me examples of why I should do it or why I shouldn't do it. There's not too many people, they'll just tell you what to do and expect you to just get it, right? But he's always in that teaching moment. So every time I'm around him, I always learn something. And I am just so thankful for you. And that's why in any room that I ever go into and I'm speaking to a crowd of people, I always say, I want to give respect to my mentors first and foremost, which is Larry Gossett and Larry Evans, because without Larry Evans, I would have never met Larry Gossett. And without Larry Gossett, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So just thank you, sir. And I know your family appreciates it a lot. And I know they're happy that you're home now, but I know you're going to find something else to do with your time. I know it won't be long. So, right now we have some entertainment coming up from the Northwest Tap Connection. And I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be good. So let's give a round of applause.
My name is Cypher Goings. I am here on behalf of Melba Egno, otherwise known as Miss Melba to us. And I'm speaking on behalf of Northwest Tap Connection. And this piece that we are doing today is to celebrate everything that you have done for this community, Mr. Larry Gossett, and we greatly appreciate you. Thank you.
When you're as short as I am, you need to stand up here to be seen, so here I am. Hello, everyone. It's a great honor to celebrate our great social justice leader, nonviolent revolutionary, and true friend, Larry Gossett. Larry, as we know, has stood up for the rights of people of color and all marginalized people in our community and around the world. He's worked tirelessly in and beyond District 2, inspiring community members to come together across geographic, race, religious, and class lines in service to our shared goals. We in the Asian Pacific American community always knew we could count on Larry to stand with us, whether in the streets or in the government, for things important to us, including immigrant and refugee rights, affordable housing, preservation and promotion of our community's cultures, service organizations, businesses, jobs, public safety in our historic neighborhood, and environmental justice, just to name a few. When I was executive director at Asian Counseling and Referral Service, I turned often to Larry and his brilliant staff, led by Cindy Domingo, on issues affecting our community, whether in the International District, on Beacon Hill, or the Rainier Valley. Larry had community meetings at ACRS and heard the concerns of seniors and people with mental illness or substance use disorder, and initiated town halls in the Rainier Valley to hear concerns about the desperate need for equitable public transportation. I'll never forget when a frail refugee in her 80s took Larry's hand and mine and asked us to ensure her continued access to her lifeline, a bus that would take her from MLK Way to the ID, where the food bank and her medical care was. Larry kept his promise. We would see Larry at our community's events, large and small, whether through county policy and legislation or through direct action at City Hall or in the streets. We knew that Larry had our backs. I'll always remember the time years ago when Larry, Bob Santos, and Roberto Maestas came up and stood behind me and literally had my back when I testified before the City Council urging police reform. He was on the front lines again when One America executive then and now Congressional Representative Pramila Jayapal enlisted Larry to join with other community, faith, and labor leaders in nonviolent civil disobedience, calling for federal comprehensive immigration reform. Larry didn't just talk about issues, he was out in the community, talking with those most affected, young and old, and working to ensure their equitable representation in policy and legislation. He never forgot where he came from, neither the community which loved and raised him or the political convictions he held in his youth. Larry, thank you for all that you have done to advance the struggle for social justice. Your leadership helped shape the struggle in Seattle and King County. The struggle continues, but your work has been foundational, and your accomplishments will continue to bear fruit for years to come. Rhonda, thank you too for your commitment and for all that you've made possible through your own keen political insights and through all that you have done for the family and in support of Larry's work. We are all better because of your leadership too. Thank you both.
We have one of Councilmember Gossett's right-hand women who always stood in front of the door. Literally. Like, no, Councilmember got no. Miss Camila, can you take the stage? If you know Camila, you know why I said that. You know.
I'm not going to get offended by these continuous jokes that I'm the gatekeeper, but I guess I was. So my name is Camila, and I would like for all of Councilmember Gossett's former staff members, interns, and any volunteers that's worked on his last campaign to come and join me on the stage. I know I see Nick back there, and Michelle, and LaJaya, Reverend Ying. Will you guys please join me? But before I begin my remarks, I want to thank the team that made tonight happen. It was a short turnaround, but we am very glad that we have a huge crowd here tonight to celebrate my boss, Larry Gossett. So I want to thank Renita, Elizabeth, Kendrick for being our MC, Councilmember Dembowski's office for all of the work and labor that they did to make this happen, El Centro de la Raza, Estella, Enrique, Veronica, Ezel's Chicken, and all of the volunteers that helped us set up and brought the food this evening. I appreciate all of your time and energy in planning this celebration. This was something that I really wanted to do for Larry. As many of you know, I have grown into my professionalism in District 2. I came to District 2, well, actually we were District 10 then. I started working for Larry after I requested a meeting with him to volunteer. And after some back and forth, you know how conversations go with Larry. So he was over here and I was over there. And we finally met in the middle, and I said, well, you know, I already graduated from college. And he said, oh, well, then why do you want to volunteer? And I said, well, I don't have any experience. And he said, well, I'll hire you as an intern. You just make up your schedule and what day you want to start. And I said, well, this is a real good gig. So I stuck around for 18 years, nearly 18 years. I would like for you guys to join me up here. Come on. I want them to see, you know, how he impacted our community. So I want to begin with a quote from Dr. King that says, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. I know that I can speak on behalf of all of Councilmember Gossett's former staff when I say that working for him is quite an experience. It changes your life. I mean, it literally does. We have all gone on to different careers and adventures, but I bet that we can all think of our own stories that ring true about three qualities that I thought of when I think of you, Larry Gossett. And one is laughter, resiliency, and always a servant of the people. So there was always laughter in District 10 and then in District 2. Larry is quite a comedian, so he thinks. LG from the CD, often asking, what would you do if such and such and you got stuck on an island? What would you do if this person whooped your butt, Camila? He would tell me something and then say, remember, you're my confidential secretary. Or using colloquial terms with his colleagues to test their street smarts, using terms like cat, boys in the hood, my homie, Ray Ray and them, quicker than you can say Jackie Robinson. I went to jail for a cause, not because. Or announcing to my dismay, I used to be a player. One of my personal favorites, you know I was a boxer, right? Or was it an all-American basketball player? We all know our staff meetings were often very interesting and full of laughter. Going from subject to subject, A to Z, laughing loudly, and then laughing loudly again, and then more laughter, and then landing on some policy outcome. Many times our neighbors would wonder, what were y'all talking about in there? I mean, it was loud. We all know that Councilmember Gossett is resilient. I have rarely seen him sad, down, or just, you know, feeling like the world is against him. He's always kind of jovial and joking. And Michelle said it best at the council meeting that he showed us how to bend but never to break. He takes both wins and losses in stride. I remember that at the night of his election party, you know, I asked him if we were going to go to work the next day, or, you know, what are we going to do? Are we going to work the next day? And, you know, after some back and forth, he turned to me and he said, call me in the morning at 9 like you usually do. And I said, okay. So when I got to the office that morning and I called him, he said, I'm on my way. And because Councilmember Gossett showed up that day, his entire staff showed up and we worked until the very last day. That is resiliency. And lastly, I would say that Councilmember Gossett is always a servant of the people. Larry has remained true to serving the people, serving ordinary people, everyday people. I had a daily front row view of how he committed to the people, giving appointments to anyone who asked. You just had to call. And I can't lie, y'all, that drove me nuts. We debated back and forth and back about scheduling, him visiting the jail, going to court with somebody, too many night meetings. But one thing remained constant about Larry. He never wavered in his commitment to being the people's politician. And I want y'all to clap for that. And being a man of the people, he saw nothing wrong with having staffers of color, particularly black staff, and hiring interns that reflected the community he represented, from labor picket lines to May Day marches to MLK marches to letters of support to visits from old friends in the middle of a previously scheduled meeting. I mean, literally. Oh, my friend from 1960 such and such is here. You got to bring him in here. Councilmember Gossett, you want a meeting? Larry, you stayed true to your core beliefs and fought for the most disenfranchised, especially for black people, and we really appreciate it. You have given us a blueprint on how to merge community organizing, activism, and community engagement to influence and then demand good public policy that includes the marginalized and the most vulnerable. I am hopeful that others will continue mastering your blueprint. In the words of Dr. King, continue to have a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. From all of us, on behalf of all of us here in the audience, we thank you, we love you, and we pray God's abundant blessings in your life as you continue this important work as a retiree. I thank you so much for believing in me, for giving me the confidence that I can go on and work, beyond you. It has been a pleasure to be in your office. And so I just want to say all power to the people. All right.
People's politician, the community activist, the community leader, all-time American boxing hero, 9-time NBA finalist, ran from the Central District of Seattle, Washington, Mr. the Honorable Councilmember Larry Gossett.
I'm gonna be like Reverend Kenny was fond of saying, y'all sit down, I'm not gonna talk long. This is serious, and then when I meet with him privately in his office, he said, oh, Larry, getting still kind of excited. I got 6 ways to say in conclusion. And I'm gonna end it now. Y'all don't need to hear no more. Let's close it out. And by the time he gets through that, people are still excited, but he don't add 12 minutes to speak. I am not, hopefully, going to do that. I want to just follow up on the marvelous remarks by Camila Brown and Rhonda Gossett. Because without family support, and by the way, if I count, and you saw that I got a lot of representatives here. If I were to count all the relatives in the greater Seattle area on my mother's side, because y'all didn't meet Denise or Patricia, Renee, those are all my first cousins on my mother's side. But if I was to count everybody, it's about, on my mother's side and my father's side, it's 107 of us. Rocky is here. And I love saying to people, don't be hollering at me, because if I get mad and tell my family, y'all hurting my feelings or hurting me, oh, y'all in trouble. So we got, like most of you, we have the whole range. We have people that don't like to talk, and some of them was here and they didn't talk. But don't, mess with the Carters or the Gossets. And then my staff, I was really pleased that Camila mentioned herself, 17 years, Cindy Domingo, worked for me 35 years.
Oh my God.
Larry Evans, 15 years. And Chandler Gayton, who was my 4th staff until I ended at the end of December, he's only got 3 years in. But I am grateful that my staff stayed with me so long.
Yeah.
I want to tell Camila I must have been doing something right, because y'all didn't never want to leave. But they were serving the people. And yeah, some of the things we asked them to do was a little bit beyond the pale. But I'm not going to tell the city attorney who's here. But it was all aimed at helping make life better for people. And I'm very proud of all my previous staff persons. I'd like to say this real quick, because where's Nick Allen and Alexis Harris? Oh, Nick Allen is right there. Where's Alexis? Is she gone? She might be gone because she had her 2 little kids with her. Nick is a lawyer for Columbia Legal Services. Alexis is a sociologist at the University of Washington now. Both of them started as interns in my office in the late 90s and early turn of the century years. And they have done very well for themselves. Both have written books and big old long articles on legal financial obligations. And I encourage them to write and write well. And when they were working for me, I said, I'm working on my book. But as y'all heard earlier, I was talking about my book in the late 90s. And I'm still only on page 107. But I'm glad my staff took me serious, because this is another reflection of how good that they have been and how hard we work to make them conscious and awoke. One Thursday at the White House, unbeknownst to any of the 3 of them, 3 of my interns met in the same room, Rocky, at the White House. Alexis Harris, who was a marvelous professor, I think 2 years ago she was considered the best professor on the campus of the University of Washington Humanities 2 years ago by the students. And Nick Allen is a very good researcher and writer at the Columbia Legal Services. Both of them were invited to do papers at the White House on legal financial obligations, which are, if you really appreciate what imposing extra fines on poor people means in our society, you would know that often trying to pay off the debt of these fines that in Washington state go up 12% a year. They call it interest. But it means if you pay $70, $50 every month, trying to be dutiful about paying off your legal financial obligations that you owe King County, the next month you owe, instead of 50, you owe another 79 because of the interest. You never pay them off. And both of these marvelous people started doing a little research on this topic when they were my interns, and now they're national experts. Both of them have been invited to go to the White House one day about 5 years ago, unbeknownst to either, to present a paper. And they were greeted at the door by Miss Jenkins, Professor Jenkins' daughter. I can't remember her first name right now. She had worked for 2 years. Her father is a professor at the University of Washington for me. And that year she was the receptionist, appointment secretary for Obama. And she was sent to open the door. So she was extremely proudful that 2 of her home people, also who worked for Councilmember Gossett back in the day, was coming to present righteous papers on the kind of reforms we need in this society. So I would like for you all to join me in just thanking my entire family and all the staff that ever worked for me. Ramon, this next thing is kind of tricky. And this is what politicians have to do. They are really going to appreciate this. I have a letter that I'm going to read to you all that's really nice. It was put together by Senator Cantwell, Washington State Senator Cantwell. But then Monday of this week at Martin Luther King Day, you know, Bob was doing the sound, so he will remember this. I asked everybody to join me in a tremendous shout out to Jennifer Gozar and 5 other people who we call the Seattle Six, all of whom got arrested in Cantwell's office for demanding that the federal government do more about the outrageous caging and separation of kids, families on the border of Texas, okay? So I'm going to one more time ask y'all to join me, because Jennifer and one of the other people, that the 6 that got arrested on August 6th of last year in 2019, are going to trial for trying to awake our whole community about the ongoing issue of the horrific mistreatment of children and families on the border, very reminiscent of the way black families during slavery were treated, what's happening down on that border. They went to jail for it. They're going to court on this coming January 30th. Thank you. Thank you. I needed that. January 30th at 9:30 at the federal courthouse. The federal courthouse downtown. 700, anybody can help me? What's the address? Okay, 7th and Stewart. But it would be good if some of us could go down and show these women and men our community support for what it is that they did to try to get our senators and other congresspersons from Washington State to even be more aggressive in their position on that issue. But I was elated to get a letter today brought to me by the staff of Senator Cantwell from Washington State. And she is the person also that introduced me back in 2006, 2 years before the election, to then Senator Barack Obama. Cantwell introduced me to him. And here's her letter, and then a couple more remarks, and then I'll be through, and we're gonna boogie down. This is what the senator, and I'm grateful for this. This is what the senator said. Congratulations on your career as a public servant, Larry. Your commitment to civil rights, justice, and equality in King County have left an indelible mark on our community. From your early days as a student activist at the University of Washington, leader of the Black Student Union, to your 27 years on the King County Council, you left a legacy of improvement in the region that cannot be overlooked or overstated, says Senator Cantwell. With the four amigos who found a collaborative approach to civil rights and taught us solidarity and friendship and how it can be a driving force for social change by leading the fight to change the namesake of King County. You replaced a symbol of oppression with one of hope. The nonviolent protests you led at Franklin High School rattled Seattle to the core and helped to desegregate the public school system in a city that had had public schools for 105 years and still haven't desegregated them. The roadmap for progress you charted will guide current and future leaders in Seattle and across the nation and across the state of Washington for generations to come. Please accept my best wishes on a well-earned retirement. Senator Maria Cantwell. All of these elected officials, particularly those who served in the King County Council with me, and I'm really happy that Brian Dordowski is here, Dembowski's cousin. We all had disagreements on some public policies, but unlike the federal elected officials, even though most of us Democrats, but Brian was a Republican, we figured out a way to work it out. Senator Colwell is Councilmember Colwell is a Democrat, but I also work closely with Kathy Lambert, who is a very, if I could say it moderately, a very conservative Republican. But we have to figure out how to build broad-based, multiracial coalitions that have people of all walks of life able to work together around the most important issues facing people in our society. And the poor and the most dispossessed have to be at the center. So, Raquel, that's why I was real happy that at this year's March of the Martin Luther King Celebration Committee, they said we're going to end the march at City Hall Park, right beside the King County Courthouse, because they keep reading articles about, oh, the homeless are causing all these problems. We got to have more police. They're urinating on the side of the King County Courthouse. Well, if you didn't have no roof over your head and nowhere to go at 4:13 a.m. in the morning, you might would even do that yourself. But we need to give 12,000 people in one of the richest counties in all of the world, we ought to be able to provide a roof over the head of everybody. And we're not going to be able to do that. Public safety is very important. We got to, keep people safe. Y'all saw what happened on the streets in Seattle yesterday. We got to keep people safe, but believe me, it'll be much easier if we're taking care of our most dispossessed people. And that is what I want to conclude by saying to you all, and I'm kind of mad we didn't take addresses and phone numbers. Seriously, I'm retired as an elected official, y'all, but I'm not retired as a community organizer. Yeah, we've got to build a multiracial movement more effective than we've ever been able to do in Martin Luther King Jr. County in the past. We got to draw inspiration. I'm looking at these 4 circles. These 4 circles in the floor of El Centro represent symbols of the Black, Latino, Asian, and Native communities, and they're very beautiful. But we got to constantly figure out what symbols, and you already heard a lot about from my expert speakers representing the county. We got to figure out ways to draw on everything we can to bring people together for effective change that leads to much more economic equality in our community than we thus have. And I want to go back to my community organizing days with this extra experience on the hand. And we're going to figure out a way to make this movement in our community one that Martin Luther King and everybody else said, oh, y'all might think those Negroes, those people up there, those people up there are crazy, but they got it going on. And lastly, thank all of y'all for coming out. We got it.
Give it up, give it up, give it up. For the honorable, the most dedicated, Mr. Larry Gossett. We have one more presentation, and this is from the representative of the Black Panther Party.
All right. Did you need a hand? Repeat after me. All power to the people. 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 First, I want to thank my ancestors whose shoulders I stand on. And as a member of the Black Panther Party, I'm an original member of the Oakland chapter. I moved to Seattle in 1978. And this is my comrade, Vanetta. who has been very instrumental in the Panther Party, worked for the breakfast program with the sickle cell anemia, just did extensive amount of work. But Larry, I think I got a job for you. So we wanted to call, this is a call to action. I don't know if you all are aware that we're talking about 0 youth detention in the county. And so my call to action is we would like to see a restorative justice circle named Dr. Larry Gossett. A restorative justice center in our new digs over there on 12th Avenue that we circled. What is it called? The Justice Center? You know.
Children and Family Justice Center.
Children, Family, and Justice Center. So that is my call to action. That is my call to action to you and to my community, and that's our ask. Larry, we love you. We appreciate you, and we're so glad you're still with us. And the job changes, but the works continue.
All right, thank you everyone for coming. I've been your host and MC, Mr. Keith Butler. And in the words of LG, let's boogie on down.
It's electric.